This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
Well, I'll tell you, the background noise tells you that we must be at a fun place. We're up here at Poor Dog House in Millersville, which, for those that have been around a long time, it used to be called Shoeless Joe's way back when, and it was Gina's Cantina. And George Young and I sort of met in the middle for a hot dog, a sausage, some tots, and a couple beers to talk about winter weather. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's that time of year. It's November, but it was like 35 degrees yesterday with 30-mile-an-hour winds. So
two weeks ago, I was in shorts and a T-shirt, and
if that,
that's over now.
Over. It's done pretty much. Yeah. So it's wintertime. Let's talk snow.
Absolutely. Well, I'm kind of jealous of Buffalo right now. I mean, I'm seeing some images coming out of Buffalo, and they got like 6 feet of snow or something crazy like that.
Pretty good, right? Lake effect machine. Lake effect snow there is always the best.
How come we don't have
November.
a bay effect?
There's not a long enough fetch of water is the reality, right? On those lakes, they have, dozens of miles where the water can travel over, or the air travels over the water, and it picks up enough moisture. It's just we don't have the angle here. You could if you had the perfect, 1% chance, it could go kind of north to south or opposite and pick up enough. And sometimes you'll see, bay showers on the southern Maryland area, but we just don't have enough fetch. Otherwise, we would get it too. So they have it, and they got it. 80 inches in Orchard Park, home of the Bills, and a bunch of snow everywhere else. So we'll see. They got more snow in 2 days than we have in the last 5 years, probably.
Well, I will tell you, George, that over the last year, you've done a pretty good job of. Your forecasts have been spot on all year. I mean, we're getting toward the end of the year, so we're sitting here looking at the year that was and a little bit into the winter that might be, but your forecasts were spot on. And for those that aren't not a member, it's not the word I'm looking for, but those that don't have the app, get it. Go to the Google app or the Google app or the Apple App Store.
Yeah,
it sounds like a rap store. Apple app. Apple the app.
That's your rapper name. No, yeah, it's DCMDVA Weather in Apple or Google stores and free download. And get it. It's been a pretty good run. We've done this for, 5 years now.
I'm losing count of my fingers.
And I guess I've kind of been doing this a little more than that, but it's been pretty accurate and pretty good so far. And the snow is always the busiest time of year for people to engage on social media and pay attention. When it's sunny and 50 to 100 or cloudy or rainy, no one really cares. It's just everyday
stay
business.
At home and bitch.
But when it snows, everyone gets tuned up and participates online and bitches even more, unless it plays out to a big storm, which we just haven't had many. You and I are after that one big one. The last one, January 2016, right, was the large blizzard in January 22nd and 23rd, and that was right before we started doing the podcast together. And so we have not really had a big one since we were just talking last year was just after New Year's. January was a pretty good storm for the area. Can't complain. It was 10 or 12 or 14 inches depending on where you were, but nothing like the blizzards of yesteryear, I guess. So 2016, and me and dates. I love weather and dates, and look, the reality is this will be foreboding or foretelling of my forecast for the winter here. But there's this weird, every 6 or 7 year cycle, whether it's a cycle or a statistical anomaly, but 2016 was the last big storm. When was it before that? December 2009, February 2010, we had 3 blizzards combined, so that was 7 years prior to the 2016. When was it before then? 2003 was the President's Day blizzard, so that was 7 years before 2010, so 6 or 7 years. And then before then, 1996, 7 years prior, was the January 1996 blizzard. You're
freaking me out, man. It's like those the similarities between what was it, Kennedy and it was like Kennedy and Lincoln or something like that.
Kennedy and Lincoln, right? Before that, it wasn't quite as spaced out. It was like a 4-year period. It was 1993 Superstorm March 1993. Then January, this was then 6 years, 1987 was a blizzard that hit the area. Before that, January 1983. And then the storm that got me hooked as a kid was the first President's Day blizzard, February 1979. So growing up, I remember thinking, this is like every 4 or 5 years. This is like clockwork. Now it's become, for whatever reason, weirdly, every 6 or 7. So the reality is we're on the 6th or 7th year from the last time. It'll be 7 years going into 2023. So I'm guaranteeing the blizzard to happen because we're due. And the schedule says it. And the reality is, statistically, we're just due for an above-average year, even though a couple of things say, no way, Jose, because this is the 3rd straight year of a La Nina conditions, which is certain conditions in the Pacific Ocean. We always look at that first. Is it El Nino or La Nina? If it's La Nina, it typically points to not a snowy deal in the eastern U.S. And that's kind of been the case. Last year was pretty good. We had a couple of snows. One was big. The year before, we had a bunch of small, quick-hitter storms that kept everyone active.
Those are a pain in the neck.
They're more of a pain in the
irritating.
neck. A lot of mixed precip. It was a lot of crusty snow and some sleet. So this is the 3rd year where conditions, and there are not many triple-dip La Nina years where it's 3 consecutive winters of La Nina conditions. And again, that's supposed to mean not a lot of snow in the east, but so there's one strike against us. The other one was, remember in January 15th of this year, was that crazy underwater near Tonga in the Pacific Ocean earthquake volcano, right? So it was the
nobody remembers that,
Tonga,
but go ahead.
Tonga. But remember, the satellite imagery was cool, and it just exploded many, many miles into the atmosphere in a way that is very different from other volcanic explosions. And here's why it could be slightly important. Volcanic explosions usually consist of ash, and they kind of tend to make the Earth cooler for a couple of years. Mount Pinatubo did that in 1991. We saw that maybe even a little Mount St. Helens in 1980. But this one was different because it happened underwater and still went dozens of miles into the atmosphere, all the way through the through the troposphere, which is the first X number of miles up, and it went into the stratosphere. And what it did, because it was originated underwater, it sent a lot of water vapor into the stratosphere. And what that water vapor did, instead of blocking out the light coming into the atmosphere, which would make it cooler, it actually traps the heat in the atmosphere, and it could make the Earth a little bit even warmer than already occurring for the next 1 to 3 years, whatever. They've measured this. The water vapor is off the charts in the stratosphere. Very identifiable anomaly. What does that mean for our winter? We don't know because we haven't really seen these measurements before. But I'm going to say if it's trapping moisture, we're just going to have a little more of an unpredictable, volatile winter. You would think because it's making the Earth warmer that it wouldn't be bad for us. It doesn't really matter because we live or die on the 1 or 2 storm rule around here. It's just the right set of cold air with the right amount of moisture. So because there's more moisture in the stratosphere, I'm going to say it's going to luck us out and bring up...
I was going to say to the idiot weather guy like me, having more moisture up in the stratosphere with the ability to perhaps be colder. As soon as you get the moisture and the cold, then you got the snow. And I will say that, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but it feels like it has gotten colder earlier this year than in years past.
Let's look at November. It does feel like it, and that anecdotal thing can throw us off because November, which we're still in of 2022, the first 12 days, we're about as far statistically as you can be above average and not really freak out. We were 10 to 12 degrees above average, which for 12 days of a month is statistically relevant, and it was just off the charts. If you ever ended up an entire month 10 degrees above average or below average, you would have a major news story. Usually over 30 or 31 days, it plays out where something balances out something else. Well, what happened on the 13th of November this year? Cold front came through, it flipped the switch, and we've been 10 to 15 degrees every day below average, just like that. There was no gradual kind of decline or whatever. And just yesterday, the average high is 55 to 57 this time of year. It was 35. With lows this morning, I saw it was 23 on my thermometer at my house. The average low was around 40 degrees this time of year. So it has been super cold now since the 13th of November. Right. So, we're into a 10-day stretch of cold weather that's going to last another several days. Thanksgiving's going to be nice, but still, we're more in average territory. When you're within 5 degrees of the average temp, that's all like standard deviation buffer stuff. 10 to 20 degrees away, it happens a couple days a month, all years, but we're talking 7 to 10 straight days on both sides of the equation. So it's been kind of average. October was, I think, a couple of degrees below average, maybe 1 or 2 degrees. So it was a cooler month in October. We had the standard warm stuff, but we had a lot of mornings in the 30s where we just weren't used to that. So statistically, it played out. The course of every year, though, at this point, it's kind of like when we do our summer outlook and our tropical storms. It's just warmer and more active. There's more moisture in the atmosphere because the Earth is warmer, and it just makes things go. So we just see more incidences of flooding rains, and we just need that one intersection of cold and all this moisture we have at our disposal, and somehow we just haven't had it for the last 5 winters.
Well, there have been a couple of weird things in weather over the last year that I've noticed, which certainly you would notice, but I would not necessarily. Is that early on in the hurricane season, we talked about that Pacific hurricane crossing over into the Atlantic.
That's right, it did.
Which is rare to happen.
And it kept its name because it kept its form and strength. Right?
And then also we had a very late tropical thing, which didn't do anything for us. Just a week or so ago, which, yes, and the hurricane season goes through November 1st, I guess, technically.
Through the end of November.
Oh, the end of November. Yeah. Okay, but to have something in November is fairly unusual.
Latest landfalling hurricane ever was Hurricane Nicole when it hit, I guess it was Florida, right? It was just a Category 1, but it was so big and broad that the overall circulation, just the massive movement of air in the sky above was off the charts. It was a large hurricane. Hurricane Ian hit southwest Florida earlier in the summer, and that was devastating. And they compared, and that one was way bigger than Hurricane, and now I'm forgetting the name, the same one that hit southwest Florida a long time ago. In the same spot. So Ian was way bigger than that one, and then Hurricane Nicole was like 2 or 3 times the size of Ian just a couple of months later. And for it only to be a Category 1, the damage that it did to the Daytona Beach area and that shoreline was just off the charts because it's moving so much air, and then it's just, there's a little more water in the ocean, the sea levels are rising, and it just pounded like for 24 plus hours with water coming in. We just can't handle it.
Yep. Well, you don't want to mess with Mother Nature. They've said that since the cartoon or the commercials way back in the 60s and 70s. But as we go into winter, what are your suggestions as far as keeping safe, whether it be at home, in the car, out on the road, whatever it may be?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Get that emergency kit where it's the standard kind of like blanket, hat, gloves, jacket in your trunk or wherever, just in case you break down, it's dark 14 hours out of the day, kind of in the wintertime, more or less.
I love it. I love the early darkness.
I love it. I can't wait for next year, hopefully signing the legislation that we stay on daylight saving time, but we'll see next year. So standard stuff, right? Hat, gloves, a jacket, but also have, whether it's a set of flares or some kind of thing that is battery operated where, it lets someone know if you're broken down. You can have kind of a portable battery charger, a portable thing that pumps up your tires in case you have an issue. All of these things are readily available now. The technology is widespread. A lot of them are all-in-one packs where it's just, charge it up like a cell phone, and it'll last you for a while versus, something that has to charge in your car or whatever. Charge it and just put it in the trunk and be done with it. And then I think, the other wise thing is, have the number of a local kid or, a service that can clear some snow for you, because it just happened with these buffalo snows. It happens every winter, and it's a sad way to go out, but to die shoveling snow, because the reality is at least 2 people died just recently in Buffalo from this storm. It's heavy, wet snow when it's close to 32 degrees. So, you know what? Unless you're like 40 years and below, if not 30 and younger. Just let someone else do it, right?
Ain't none of us getting any younger.
No one's getting younger. And to imagine it, just to go out because you were shoveling snow. One other thing I think you could think about, like I thought I would have seen a lot more with these buffalo images coming in, but you can have a mat that covers your walkway that just melts the snow, or a larger spread. Obviously, with time and money, we can all do anything in the world that we want to. And so these things cost money, but to invest in something like something that covers your driveway, or at least a portion of it, you walk out and it's just melted. It keeps the air warm enough to where, it would be nice. But at a minimum, have the name of a landscaping crew or a local kid that text them and say, hey, $20 to shovel the walkway and driveway.
Totally did that when that December or the January storm last year. I was flying and it turned around and looks like the food's coming in. Looking good. Yeah, I'll take another one too.
Yes, yeah, right. So especially
I called from the plane and said, "Hey, Jamie."
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We're getting in at midnight.
Yeah.
Last thing I need to do is shovel my driveway. Could you get there today? And
especially around here, way more times than not, the temp is closer to 32 degrees, so the snow is wet.
Got some utensils?
Yep, thank you, sir. All right, thanks. Got it.
Trade you. Thank you.
And when the snow's wet, if you drive up to your house or walk on it, it compacts it, and then if you let it sit for a while, even half a day or a day. So the whole point is it ends up freezing, and then it becomes this thick layer of ice, and that's a whole different story. So have that service ready, get them out there as quickly as you can, after it snows, and just get it off the surface so that it can be done. That's great.
Well, if you have any, we got to end this because this stuff is looking great, man. I got this Pasadena Non-Cheeseteak, and it's a cheesesteak without the cheese, or without the steak.
Yeah.
But it substitutes like a sausage in there.
It's a sausage steak.
And it looks awesome,
good.
and I'm going to get into it. But if you've got any word with the man upstairs or whoever controls his weather, enough of this 2 and 3 inch BS.
Yeah.
That's just an irritation. That's like a wedgie in your underwear.
It's just like that, absolutely. And we're done with that, right? We're going for, I don't even have a funny analogy. We're going to 15 inches and beyond. Make of that what you will. But we're going big storm.
That's not a prediction, but I would love to see 2 or 3 storms like that.
That's
you
it.
can space them apart. I mean, I don't need that whole back-to-back-to-back that we had in 2009 or 10. That was tough.
It was tough, but it was compelling, though.
But I do enjoy the early darkness. I do enjoy the winter storms, and hopefully we're going to get them. You've got some outstanding tips as far as keeping safe. You've got some explanations as to why we think it may be a little bit of a snowier winter, and my fingers are crossed, and I think yours are too.
I'm looking forward to it. We've waited years at this point. It's time for it to happen. And get some supplies ready, settle in. We'll have lots of snowfall prediction contests. We've been doing that every year for the last 5 or 6 years or more. And now there's like 200 to 400 people that join each time it might snow, and it's fun because there's a lot of unpredictability around here, and so any storm could be 3 inches or 12 inches if you're on the right side of 95 or the track of the storm. It comes down to that 11th hour kind of thing. So should be a good winter. Follow us at DCMDVAweather.info on the web, DCMDVA Weather, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram even started posting some images there.
Are you TikToking yet?
We have not done TikTok yet. Actually, I did create an account on TikTok. I just haven't done it. I have teenage girls and they're TikTok masters, so I should get into it. And you know what? I just recently launched. It's not was it GoFundMe? What? I don't even know. I put this thing out and I posted it once, but feel free. I'm gonna Patreon, yeah, patron, however you say it, Patron if you are into tequila. And but I launched it, and I'll go with it more. But I'm ready for anyone to give some money to the cause. Whatever. There's a lot of stuff to pay for: app, website fees, and all kinds of stuff. And I also want to invest in some projects around the region. Like one project I want to do is put digital thermometers around the city of Annapolis, and I want to measure objectively the impact of the bay on temperatures. So at one thermometer, let's say 100 yards from the water, it's X. The same day, I want to be able to see 1,000 yards up Main Street, on the top of Main Street by the Maryland Inn, it might be 5 degrees warmer. If you go toward whatever, the mall or, something, Stan and Joe's or whatever on West Street, it might even be a couple of degrees warmer. I'm interested because we all know that the National Weather Service thermometer is right there on the water. It gives such a ridiculous anomaly of a temperature. It'll be 80 at, BWI, and it'll be 58, literally 20 degrees less there. So anyways, an example of a project that I want to do, but to put, 10 digital thermometers around Annapolis and come up with some cool acronym to spell out what the name of the project is, whatever. Yeah, it's probably $2,500 or $5,000 to have a quality thermometer. So anyways, Patreon, Patron, I'll post it more and push the envelope, but this is a good way to get the message out. It's up, it's on the website, so follow the link, give some money. I created certain levels. If you give X number of dollars, you get a DCMDVA Weather sweatshirt or a hoodie sent to you, If I
give you $25 a month,
yeah,
do I get a guaranteed big-ass snowstorm this year?
You'll get snow at your house one way or the other for $25 a month.
If George has to truck it in.
It doesn't matter. It might be your yard might be the only yard, but there will be snow.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, all of the projects aside, which do sound actually fascinating, because we do know how distinct the weather can be in different sections of the county, and the benefit that you bring to Ion Annapolis and to anybody who subscribes to DCMDVA Weather by whatever means is that you're local. Okay, we're here at the Poor Dog House up in Millersville. You live right across the river in in Arnold area.
Yeah.
The kids go to school here and everything else, and this area is very unique and hard to forecast. Most of the TV weathermen, they live up in southern Pennsylvania. This is a guy that sees it come in. This is a guy that got really into it more professionally when the Duresha tore down his house.
That's right.
And we've been through that. So that's the beauty, and that's the benefit, and that's the value that I see in DCMDVA Weather. And I thank you for letting me know about the Patreon, because I didn't know about it, and I'm going to go check that out tonight, and I'm going to sign up for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I posted it once, and then I was like, you know what, I'll let it sit for a while, but now's the time to start to push it. And it's a good deal. The service has been great, and you're right. I still fully believe in what I started with, which is the use of an app to send push notifications and social media when it's not an app that just pulls model data, which is this prepackaged, not always that accurate thing. When you're hearing directly from me as a forecaster that's accurate, that's real information from a human that you can act on, and you can also interact with me, whether it's through social media or email or whatever, and say, hey, clarify. I have a lot of people throughout each year. What do you think about this weekend? We have a soccer tournament. We're going fishing. We're, whatever. And just, it's hard to interact with someone that directly, and it's free. So it's a good thing, and a lot of people take advantage of it, but I think there's a lot more room left for engagement and improvement, and the Patreon setup is one way, but also these projects and the podcast. So appreciate you letting me do this year after year, and it's been a good success so far.
Absolutely. And the website, once again?
Website is DCMDVAweather.info. You get your weather info from us, and then everything else is just DCMDVA Weather. It's, again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, maybe TikTok, and the app, DCMDVA Weather, Apple or Google App Stores, and looking forward to a big winter ahead.
And all of that at DCMDVAweather.info. George, thanks so much. Now we need to shut up and eat these this Pasadena Non-Cheeseteak.
It's a good spread. Thanks, John.
This has been a bonus podcast from Ion Annapolis. Please visit us at ionannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Ion Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.